Hi, this is a sample teaching video. I will be doing a short lesson on a grammar point. We're going to be talking about what we were like 10 years ago, basically. And so I don't have any students, as you can see, but the parts of the lesson where students would actually be interacting and doing things with each other, I'll explain, and we'll go with it from there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a picture of me 10 years ago in 1999. And what I want you to think about is what's different about me in these pictures. What was I doing at that point in my life? What did I look like? And how is that different from now? So I'm going to show you the picture. So what do you think? What's different about me now and me in this picture from 1999, these two pictures? So you have one there in the bottom too that's a little bit smaller. So what do you think is different? Now I give students time to give a couple of things that they think, and then we would move on. I wouldn't correct anything at this point. So we've talked a little bit about what I was like 10 years ago, but I have some questions for you. What I want you to do is get into groups of 3 and think about these questions. So 10 years ago, what did you look like? What was different about your life? Did you have anything that you liked that was different? Likes or dislikes? Did you have any different hobbies? And are you very different now in 2009? So students would have 3 to 5 minutes to talk about these questions, in which I would walk around and see how they're doing. Once the 3 to 5 minutes are up, what they or you as the students would need to do is to come up with a summary in your group. So how were you all, how were you 3 different 10 years ago than you are now? So you need to take some notes, and what you're going to be doing is reporting back to the group what you found out, how you were different and what you're like now. Okay, so once students have come up with their summaries and reported back to the group or begun to report back to the group, what you need to do is listen to each group's summary of how they were like or how they were different, and you need to decide who's changed the most in the past 10 years. So out of the 12 of us that are here in this classroom, who has changed the most between 1999 and 2009? And we'll take a vote at the end after we listen to everybody's summaries. Okay, so now that we've voted and we've decided who are the students, who is the student in the class who has changed the most over the past 10 years, what I want to do is to come back to the pictures that I showed you of me to begin with. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the things that I see that have changed in the past 10 years. So what I want you to do is to listen, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about what I said, okay? Any questions? No? Alright, so 10 years ago I used to be a student at the university. I used to be a freshman. I had 3 roommates, and I used to live in the student dorms. One of my roommates used to snore all night, and the other used to make big messes in the kitchen. I didn't like living in the student dorms. Now I have my own apartment, I have a cat, I have a husband, and I work full-time. I used to be skinnier, and I had shorter hair. I used to have shorter hair and contacts instead of glasses. I also used to play softball, as you can see here, but now I run and I do yoga, okay? So in the past, what did my hair look like? Yeah. What did I look like physically? 10 years ago, what sports did I play? 10 years ago, where did I used to live? So questions like that. I would ask comprehension questions to the students of that type, okay? Or I might have them come up with their own questions for me. Okay, so here, what we're going to do next, we've looked at these pictures, and we have some sentences here that are from what I just told you about my pictures, okay? So, I used to be a freshman at university, I used to live in a student dormitory, I used to have shorter hair, and I didn't like living in the dorms very much, okay? Okay, so do you understand all these sentences? Do you understand what they mean? So, comprehension check questions here might be, did I live at the university in the past? So yes. Was it a regular occurrence that I lived there more than one day, or was it just a day? And the answer would be yes. Do I live at the university now? No. Right? So we would check to make sure that the students understand what the sentences mean. So what we have here are two different structures to talk about the past, correct? We have used to, which you've seen, and we have did not, okay? So what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a written version of the text of what I told you about my picture that was here, okay? And what I want you to do is find different examples of used to and did not in this text, okay? And then we're going to talk about how they're actually used, right? So in your groups, go back and find more examples from the text that I just told you about. We would come back, we would discuss what the students found in the text, and then we would move on to talk about how used to is actually used, okay? So what uses do you know? What uses do you see here? How is used to used, right? There's two different ways. Okay, we can use used to talk about habits in the past, something that happened habitually in the past, but then also stopped at some point in the past, right? So I used to be a freshman at university, but I wasn't always in the past. I may have stayed at university longer, but I was only a freshman for a while. Thank goodness. Okay, so we have something that's habitual in the past that doesn't quite get up to the present, stopped at some time in the past. That would be one use of used to. Right? We can also use used to for past facts and generalizations. So, for example, let me grab my examples here. Oops. For example, I used to live in Colombia, right? I used to be skinny, or skinnier than I am now. I used to have long hair, right? So a past fact, right? So we have those two different uses and we have examples of both. So if the students are confused about this, we go in and we look at other examples. I might have handouts, or I might have them come up with examples of their own things in the past. But this would depend on the level of the student. This activity I've used at the pre-intermediate level, but I think it can also be a good review for students at a higher level. For example, I was designing this lesson yesterday and my husband asked me a question about this because he saw it in class last night. I said, oh, that's good to know. And he's at a higher level, right? So I think you could use it in many different ways. And it's also worthwhile to point out, if we're talking about did not, right? Used to would be for a positive statement, right? But when we have something that's negative or that's a question, we would use did. We would use the simple past. And there's also many cases in which the simple past could be used in place of used to, right? To talk about habits, I could use the simple past as well. So we might look at examples. But it would depend on the students. So if they don't have problems and they can point the things out themselves, I'm not going to explain it rule by rule how things would work. I would have them tell me what the rules are.